The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly as Samuel McCready rode through the rocky terrain of his ranch. At 52, Sam carried the weight of 3 years' solitude since his wife Martha died of fever and their son fell at Gettysburg. The drought had been harsh, and he was checking water holes when he spotted something that made his blood freeze. Beneath an ancient cottonwood tree hung a small figure swaying in the hot breeze. A young Apache girl, no more than 13, suspended by rope around her wrists. A crude sign hung around her neck. "Warning to all Apache scum! Stay off white land!" Sam's heart hammered as he dismounted and rushed forward. The girl's feet barely touched ground. Angry welts marked her wrists, and she was unconscious but alive. Without hesitation, he cut the ropes and caught her small frame as she collapsed. "Easy now, little one," he whispered, cradling her against his chest. "You're safe now." The ride to his ranch house felt endless. The girl remained unconscious, her breathing shallow but steady. Sam found himself talking continuously, as if his voice could anchor her to life. "My name's Sam. I live alone on this spread. It's got good water and shade. You're going to be all right." At the ranch house, Sam laid her gently in what had been his son's room. Besides the rope burns, she bore bruises on her arms and face. Someone had beaten her before stringing her up as a warning. Sam's jaw clenched with rage. What kind of men could do this to a child? He cleaned and bandaged her wounds with surprising gentleness, his weathered hands working carefully. As he worked, he studied her face, even unconscious and battered. She possessed a quiet dignity that reminded him of the daughter he and Martha had lost in infancy. When evening came, the girl finally stirred. Her large, dark eyes opened, filled with confusion and pain. Seeing Sam's face, she instinctively tried to shrink away. "Easy," Sam said softly. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him, then looked around the clean room, taking in the bandages, the glass of water waiting beside the bed. "Can you understand me?" Sam asked gently. She nodded slightly, wincing. "My name is Sam McCready. I found you hanging from a tree. Do you remember what happened?" Her eyes filled with tears, but she remained silent. "You don't have to talk about it now. Are you thirsty?" She looked at the water with longing, but made no move. Sam understood. She was afraid to show weakness, afraid to trust. He held the glass to her lips and she drank gratefully. "I made some broth. What's your name?" For the first time she spoke, barely above a whisper. "Ayana." "Ayana. That's beautiful. What does it mean?" "Eternal blossom," she said with a hint of pride. Sam smiled, his first genuine smile in months. "That's perfect. Would you like to stay here while you heal? I promise you'll be safe." Ayana was quiet for a long moment. Then, "The men who hurt me said they would kill any Apache found on white land. Those men were wrong," Sam said firmly. "This is my land, and you're welcome here. Anyone who has a problem with that will have to go through me." Something shifted. In her eyes, a spark of hope trying to kindle. She nodded. As Sam helped her eat the warm broth, he felt a profound change settling over him. For 3 years, he'd merely existed. Now, with this broken child depending on him, he felt truly alive again. "Tomorrow we'll work on getting you healthy," he told her. "Then we'll figure out the rest." "Thank you," she whispered. "Get some rest, little one. You're home now." As he settled back into his chair to keep watch, Sam McCready didn't realize that in saving this Apache girl, he was also saving himself. Dawn broke with promise of another scorching day. Sam had dozed fitfully beside Ayana's bed, waking hourly to check her breathing. She'd slept deeply, her body finally able to rest and heal. When she woke, recognition dawned in her eyes, and she relaxed against the pillows. "Good morning. How are you feeling?" "Better. Thirsty. Think you could handle some eggs?" She nodded, studying him with sharp, intelligent eyes. Despite her trauma, there was remarkable resilience in this girl. As she ate, Sam asked gently. "Do you have family? People who might be looking for you?" Her face clouded. "My grandmother. She raised me after the soldiers came to our village and killed my parents for trying to show them old treaties." Sam's heart clenched. "How long ago?" "2 winters. Last week, men came saying Apache was stealing cattle. When grandmother tried to explain we had nothing to do with any stolen cattle, they took me away. Said they were making an example. I heard her screaming, then nothing." Sam felt familiar rage building. This child had lost everything multiple times and still found strength to survive. "We'll find out about your grandmother, but first, you need to get stronger." Over the following days, Sam threw himself into caring for Ayana with dedication that surprised them both. She proved a quick healer, and by the 3rd day was exploring the house with natural curiosity. "Grandmother taught me to cook," she said one morning, watching Sam prepare eggs. "Different foods than this. Would you like to show me?" Her face lit up, the first time he'd seen her truly smile. That afternoon, she led him to gather wild plants around the ranch. Her knowledge amazed Sam, and he found himself thinking this girl had survival skills perfect for this harsh country. As they cooked together, combining Apache techniques with Sam's basic knowledge, the kitchen filled with laughter as Ayana taught him Apache words and he butchered the pronunciation. "Your tongue is too heavy for our language," she told him, grinning. "Your grandmother didn't raise a quitter. I'll keep practicing." On the 4th morning, approaching horses interrupted their peaceful routine. Sam recognized the voices. Bill, Garrison and Tom Fletcher, neighbors, along with several townsmen. "Ayana, go upstairs and stay in your room. Don't come out no matter what you hear." Fear flashed in her eyes, but she nodded and disappeared upstairs. Sam checked his rifle and stepped onto the porch. Bill Garrison, heavyset with a perpetually red face, led the local Ranchers Association. He'd never been friendly, viewing Sam as too soft on the Indian problem. "Morning, Bill, Tom. What brings you out?" "We heard disturbing rumors, Sam," Garrison said bluntly. "Jake Morrison says he saw Apache smoke signals from your land." "Just clearing brush, Bill. You know how it is." Tom Fletcher urged his horse closer. "Word is you're harboring Indians." "That's a serious accusation. What makes you think that?" "We found Apache tracks leading to your ranch. Mrs. Henderson swears she saw an Indian girl in your wagon in town." Sam's heart hammered, but he kept his voice steady. "Mrs. Henderson sees a lot of things." Garrison's eyes hardened. "Sam, are you hiding Indians on your property?" The moment stretched between them. Sam looked at each man, neighbors he'd known for years, men who now sat with hands on weapons. "Even if I was, it would be my business on my own land." Murmurs ran through the group. Garrison's face reddened. "This isn't a game. There've been cattle rustling, horses stolen, the territorial governors talking about calling in troops. If you're giving them shelter, you're making things worse. The Apache girl I'm caring for is 12 years old and was nearly murdered. She's no threat to anyone's cattle." The admission shocked the group. Several reached for guns, but Garrison held up a hand. "So you admit it. Sam, you need to turn her over to authorities. Indians belong on reservations. This child belongs wherever someone will keep her safe and fed. Right now, that's here." Fletcher spat. "You're making enemies of every decent person in the territory. That girl's people are savages, and she'll grow up to be one too." Sam's temper flared. "The only savages I've seen lately strung up a child as a warning. Tell me, Tom, do you know anything about that?" Fletcher's hand moved to his gun, but again Garrison intervened. "This conversation is over. Sam, I'm giving you 1 week to get that Indian girl off your property. If she's still here, we'll be back with the sheriff." "You do what you think is right, Bill, but that girl stays." After they left, Sam found Ayana huddled on the stairs, tears streaming. "I heard everything. I should go. I'm bringing you trouble." Sam sat beside her, putting his arm around her shoulders. The only place you're going is to help me feed the horses. This is your home now, Ayana, but they'll come back. They'll hurt you because of me. Let me worry about that. I've been alone for 3 years, dying a little every day. You've given me something to live for again. You think I'm going to give that up because some narrow-minded men can't see past their prejudices? Ayana studied his face. You really mean that even though I'm Apache? Especially because you're Apache. Your people know things about surviving in this land that most settlers never learn. You're smart, brave, and strong. Any man would be proud to call you daughter. The word hung between them. Ayana's eyes widened. Daughter? Sam felt his eyes grow misty. If you'll have me as a father. I can't replace what you lost, but I can promise to love and protect you as long as I live. Ayana threw her arms around his neck, sobbing against his shoulder. But these were tears of joy, of belonging. I would be honored to be your daughter. As Sam held her, the last walls around his heart crumbled completely. The week passed quickly, each day bringing Sam closer to inevitable confrontation. But rather than spending time in fear, he used it preparing practically and emotionally for what lay ahead. Sam taught Ayana basic skills, how to shoot his rifle, where to hide if trouble came, locations of emergency supplies cached around the property. More importantly, he built her confidence, helping her understand she had value and rights, regardless of others' opinions. You are my daughter now, he reminded her each morning. That makes you a McCready, and McCreadys don't back down from bullies. Ayana had blossomed during their time together. The frightened, broken girl he'd found was transforming into a spirited young woman with quick wit and fierce loyalty. She'd taken over much of the cooking and begun to laugh again, real laughter that lit up her whole face. On the 4th day, they received an unexpected visitor. Dr. James Warren, the elderly physician who served scattered territorial communities, arrived looking troubled. Sam, I've been hearing stories about you harboring an Apache girl. Sam's jaw tightened. And? I wanted to see for myself. Dr. Warren had delivered Sam's son and been a family friend for 25 years. His opinion mattered. Ayana appeared. In the doorway, moving to stand beside Sam's chair, chin raised defiantly. Dr. Warren studied her. Her improved health, clean clothes, and most importantly, how she stood protectively close to Sam. What's your name, child? Ayana McCready, she replied, and Sam felt pride at how she claimed the name. McCready, is it? The doctor glanced at Sam with raised eyebrows. She's my daughter now, legally and in every way that matters. Dr. Warren nodded slowly. I can see that. Ayana, would you mind if I examine those rope burns? I want to make sure they're healing properly. As the doctor checked her injuries, Sam watched his face carefully. Dr. Warren had seen plenty of frontier violence, but controlled anger flickered in his eyes at whoever had hurt his daughter. Healing nicely. You've done a fine job caring for her, Sam. After Ayana went inside, the doctor turned serious. Sam, this won't be easy. There's anger toward Apache right now, and having her here makes you a target. But not everyone feels the same way. There are people who believe all children deserve protection regardless of heritage. People like you, people like me, and Judge Morrison, despite what his son Jake might have told Garrison, and Reverend Matthews, though he's keeping quiet. Even Sheriff Coleman, though he's in a difficult political position. This was encouraging news. Sam had assumed he was completely isolated. There's something else. I've been asking about displaced Apache families. There's an old woman named Chela living near the mission school outside Tucson. Word is, she's been searching for her granddaughter, taken by vigilantes last week. Sam's heart leaped. Ayana's grandmother. Could be. If it is, and if she's alive, that changes things considerably. A child with family has different legal standing than an orphan. Would you help me find out? I was planning to ride that way next week anyway. That evening, Sam shared the news with Ayana. Her reaction was immediate, hope and fear warring in her expression. She might be alive, truly. We don't know for certain, but Dr. Warren will investigate. If your grandmother is alive, you could see her again. Ayana stared into their evening fire for a long time. I love grandmother. She taught me everything. But if she's alive, she'll want me to come back to our people. And I want to be with her, but I also want to stay here, with you. Is that wrong? Sam felt his throat tighten. It's not wrong at all, sweetheart. Love isn't something you ration. You can love your grandmother and still want to be here too. If she's alive, we'll figure out a way to make it work. But no matter what happens, you'll always be my daughter. 2 days later, their preparation time ended. Bill Garrison returned with Sheriff Coleman, Tom Fletcher, and half a dozen armed men. Sam met them on his porch, Ayana standing beside him. She'd insisted on facing whatever was coming rather than hiding. "Morning, Bill, Sheriff." Sheriff Coleman, lean with prematurely gray hair, looked uncomfortable. "Sam, I'm here officially. Complaints have been filed about you harboring Indians in violation of territorial law." "What law would that be, Sheriff?" "The Indian Removal Act requires all Apache to be relocated to designated reservation lands. By keeping this girl here, you're interfering with federal policy. The Indian Removal Act doesn't apply to U.S. citizens. My daughter Ayana is a citizen by virtue of adoption." This drew murmurs from the assembled men. Garrison pushed forward. "You can't just adopt an Indian and make her white, Sam. I'm not making her white. I'm making her my daughter. As my daughter, she has every right to live on my property." Sheriff Coleman frowned. "Even if that's legally sound, and I'm not sure it is, these men have legitimate concerns. There have been incidents of vigilantes lynching children. That's the only incident I've seen evidence of." Tom Fletcher stood in his stirrups, face flushed with anger. "Damn it, McCready! You're taking the side of savages over your neighbors." "I'm taking the side of my daughter over cowards who terrorize children." Fletcher went for his gun, but the click of a rifle being cocked stopped him. Ayana had moved to the porch end with Sam's Winchester aimed at Fletcher's chest. "I wouldn't," she said calmly. "I'm a very good shot." Tension ratcheted up instantly. Several men reached for weapons, but Sheriff Coleman's sharp command stopped. "Them, nobody draws iron. Miss, please lower that rifle." "When they stop threatening my father," Ayana replied steadily. Sam felt pride and terror. His daughter showed remarkable courage, but was escalating a dangerous situation. "Ayana, it's all right. Lower the rifle." She hesitated, then slowly complied, keeping the weapon ready. Sheriff Coleman shook his head. "Sam, this can't continue. I've got a dozen complaints, more coming daily. The territorial governor is asking questions. If you don't resolve this, I'll have to take official action." "What kind of action?" "Arrest you for interfering with federal Indian policy. The girl will have to go to the reservation." The words hung like a death sentence. Sam felt Ayana trembling beside him, but her voice remained strong. "Sheriff, if I may," she said with formal politeness that surprised everyone. "I would like to know what crime I have committed that requires imprisonment on a reservation." Coleman looked uncomfortable. "It's not about crime, miss. It's about federal law. The same law that gave my family land in a treaty, then allowed soldiers to break that treaty and kill my parents. The same law that allowed men to lynch me for existing." "That's different," Garrison blustered. "Is it?" Ayana stepped forward, transformed from broken child to young woman finding her voice. "I have hurt no one. I have stolen nothing. I have worked hard, learned much, and tried to be a good daughter to the man who saved my life. What law says this is wrong?" Judge Morrison, who had been silent, spoke up. "Sheriff, I'd like to hear about this adoption Sam mentioned." Sam pulled documents from his vest. "Legal adoption, properly witnessed and recorded." The judge examined the papers while others watched tensely. Finally, he looked up. "This appears to be in order. If Sam McCready has legally adopted this girl, she has the same rights as any other territorial citizen. I don't see grounds for forced removal." "That's preposterous," Garrison exploded. "You can't just adopt Indians." "Actually, you can, Judge," Morrison replied calmly. "The law makes no racial distinctions regarding adoption of minors." Sheriff Coleman looked relieved. "Well then, this matter seems resolved." "Like hell," Fletcher snarled. "Legal or not, we won't stand for it. Sam, you're making enemies of every decent person in the territory." "Then I guess I'll have to live." With that, as the group prepared to leave, Sheriff Coleman lingered. "Sam, this isn't over. The legal technicality might buy time, but it won't change people's minds. Be careful, both of you." After they left, Sam found himself shaking with delayed reaction. The confrontation could have gone much worse, but it was far from complete victory. "You were incredible," he told Ayanna. "The way you spoke to them, I've never been prouder. I learned from you. You taught me that McCready's don't back down from bullies." That evening, watching the sunset from their porch, Ayanna broached the subject on both their minds. "Father, what if Dr. Warren finds grandmother? What if she wants me to come live with her?" Sam watched the last light fade from the western sky. "Then we'll face that choice when we come to it. But no matter what happens, you'll always have a home here. And I'll always be your father." Ayanna leaned against his shoulder, and Sam felt a peace he hadn't known was possible. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. He had found his daughter, and she had found her father. In the harsh Arizona landscape, that was a miracle worth fighting for. Dr. Warren returned from Tucson on a crisp autumn morning, his weathered face bearing news that would change everything. Sam and Ayanna were working in their vegetable garden, another sign of how their partnership had transformed the lonely ranch into a real home. "Dr. Warren's coming," Ayanna said, shading her eyes against the sun. Nervous anticipation filled her voice. The doctor dismounted slowly, his age showing in careful movements. But his eyes were bright with news as he accepted water and Sam's invitation to sit in the porch shade. "I found her," Dr. Warren said without preamble. "Chela is alive, and she is your grandmother, Ayanna." Ayanna's knees buckled. Sam quickly supported her, guiding her to a chair as tears streamed down her face. "She's alive? Truly? Is she well?" "Doctor," Warren's expression grew serious. "She's alive, but badly hurt. The men who took you beat her severely and left her for dead. She's been recovering at the mission school. It's a miracle she survived. She's been searching for you ever since she could walk." "Can I see her?" "That's why I'm here. But there's more you need to know first." He paused carefully. "Chela isn't just searching for you. She's been telling everyone about what happened to your family, about the vigilantes who attacked your camp. Her testimony has reached federal marshals, territorial officials, even newspaper reporters back east." Sam frowned. "What does that mean? For us?" "It means there's going to be an investigation. The federal government is finally taking notice of vigilante violence against Apache families. Chela's story, combined with what happened to Ayanna, has become a cause among reform groups. The other thing is that Chela wants to meet you, Sam. She wants to thank the man who saved her granddaughter and see how Ayanna has been cared for." 3 days later, they made the journey to Tucson. The mission school sat in a valley outside town, adobe buildings surrounding a small church, established to educate Apache children, but now serving more as a refuge for displaced families. Sam felt out of place as the only white man in sight, feeling curious and sometimes hostile eyes watching. But Ayanna came alive, entering the Apache community, speaking in her native language with children who ran out to greet them. Dr. Warren led them to a small clinic building. "She's been staying here." As they approached, an elderly Apache woman appeared. Despite injuries and hardships, Chela carried herself with dignity that instantly reminded Sam of Ayanna. Her gray hair was braided with traditional beads, and her weathered face bore marks of both wisdom and recent suffering. For a moment, grandmother and granddaughter simply stared. Then Ayana ran the last few yards, throwing herself into Chayla's arms. Both women wept, speaking rapidly in Apache. Sam stood back, feeling both joy at their reunion and deep fear he was about to lose the daughter who had brought meaning back to his life. After several minutes, Chayla gently disentangled herself and turned to face Sam. She studied him, his weathered face, calloused hands, the way he stood protectively near her granddaughter. "You are the man who saved my granddaughter." "Yes, ma'am," Sam replied, removing his hat respectfully. "I am in your debt. The debt of a life saved can never be repaid." "There's no debt. Ayana has given me far more than I've given her." Chayla's eyebrows rose. "You understand what it means to give and receive life." Sam answered honestly, "I know your granddaughter brought my heart back to life when I thought it was dead forever. She's made me a father again, given me reason to face each new day. If that's not life being given, I don't know what is." Something shifted in Chayla's expression. She turned to Ayana and spoke rapidly in Apache. Ayana responded at length, gesturing towards Sam several times. The conversation continued for minutes, while Sam waited anxiously. Finally, Chayla turned back. "My granddaughter tells me many things. She says you call her daughter, and she calls you father. She says you have taught her to shoot, to read English, to cook white man's food. But also that you have learned our foods, tried to speak our language, honored our ways. I've tried. She also tells me you have faced down many white men to protect her, that you have made enemies of your neighbors for her sake." "That's true." Chayla studied him another long moment. Then, to Sam's amazement, she smiled. Genuine, a warmth that transformed her face. "You are a good father, better than many Apache fathers I have known, and far better than most white fathers. Ayana is blessed to have found you." Relief flooded through Sam so intensely he felt dizzy. "Does that mean you're comfortable with her staying with me? That is not my choice to make. It is hers. But family is not only about blood. Sometimes the spirits bring people together who need each other, and they become family through choice and love. If Ayana chooses you as her father, then you are her father, and that makes us family as well." Over the next 2 days, Sam found himself drawn into the Apache community in unexpected ways. Chayla introduced him to other elders, and, while some remained suspicious, many were curious about the white man who had risked reputation and safety to protect one of their children. "The government promises us safety on the reservation," Chayla explained one evening around a small fire, "but the reservation is far from our sacred places, and the land is poor. Many of our people are dying there, not from bullets, but from hunger and disease and despair. What about here at the mission? Here we survive, but we do not live. We are refugees in our own land. The children learn white ways, but forget Apache ways." It was then that Sam formed an idea that would change everything. What if there was another option? What if there was a place where Apache families could live according to their own ways, but also be safe from vigilantes? Chayla looked at him sharply. "What place could this be?" "My ranch is large, larger than I need for just cattle. What if some families came to live there? Not as workers or servants, but as partners. You could teach children Apache ways while they also learn to read and write English." The suggestion was audacious. Sam could see shock in Chayla's eyes, but also something else, hope. "You would do this, take such a risk?" "I've already taken the risk by claiming Ayana as my daughter. The neighbors already see me as a traitor to my race. If I'm going to be condemned as an Indian lover, I might as well earn the title properly." That night, Ayana approached Sam as he sat outside his guest quarters. "Grandmother told me what you suggested. And what do you think?" "I think it is either the wisest thing you've ever said or the most dangerous. Probably both. The other families here have been talking. Some think you are crazy, but others think maybe the spirit sent you to help our people find a new way to survive. And what do you think?" Ayana was quiet, looking up at the star-filled sky. "I think you are my father, and I trust you completely. If you believe this can work, then I will help make it work." The next morning brought unexpected visitors. Federal Marshal Robert Hayes and his deputy arrived with official documents and serious expressions. "Mr. McCready," the marshal said, shaking Sam's hand firmly, "I've been investigating vigilante attacks on Apache families in this territory. Your daughter's case has been particularly helpful in building our evidence." "Evidence for what?" "Criminal charges. The men who lynched your daughter and attacked her grandmother are going to face federal justice. We've identified most of them, including Tom Fletcher and several others from your area. We have warrants being prepared." Ayana stepped forward, with the same dignity she'd shown at the ranch confrontation. "Marshal, what will happen to these men? If convicted, they'll face serious prison time. The federal government is finally taking action against vigilante violence. Your case, young lady, has helped bring national attention to these crimes." As they prepared to return home, Chayla made a surprising decision. "I will come with you to see this ranch where my granddaughter has become a McCready, and to meet these neighbors who think they can terrorize children." The journey back took on a different character, with Chayla riding alongside them. She and Ayana spoke constantly in Apache, and Sam found himself picking up more words and phrases. More importantly, he could see healing taking place between grandmother and granddaughter as they crested the final ridge overlooking the McCready Ranch. Chayla reined in her horse and stared at the landscape below, prosperous and well-maintained, with good water, fertile patches for farming, and vast grazing areas. "This is your land? This is our land," Sam corrected. "Ayana's and mine, and yours too, if you want it to be." Chayla nodded slowly. "It is good land, land that could support many families if worked with wisdom." That evening, sharing a meal combining Apache and Anglo traditions around their kitchen table, Sam felt a completeness he'd never experienced. This was what family was supposed to feel like: multiple generations sharing stories, planning for the future, supporting each other. "Father," Ayana said. Chayla spoke up. "I agree, but more than that, I choose to stay as well. This old woman has been wandering too long. It is time to put down roots again." Tears sprang to Sam's eyes. "Are you sure? Both of you? It won't be easy. There will be challenges, conflicts, maybe even danger." "When has life ever been easy for Apache people?" Chayla asked with a slight smile. "At least here, we face the challenges together, as family." 2 weeks later, the first Apache families arrived at the McCready Ranch, quietly, at night, led by Dr. Warren and accompanied by federal marshals ensuring safe passage. By dawn, the ranch had transformed from a lonely outpost into a small community. Sam stood on his porch as the sun rose, watching Apache children play in his yard while their parents worked alongside him to expand living quarters and plan farming operations. Ayana moved among the families, translating between languages and cultures, serving as a bridge between worlds. When Bill Garrison and his supporters came to protest the Apache presence, they found themselves confronted not just by Sam and Ayana, but by Federal Marshal Hayes and a warrant for Tom Fletcher's arrest. "Mr. Garrison," the marshal said calmly, "I suggest you and your men return to your own properties. Any interference with these legally resident families will be considered obstruction of federal justice." That evening, the Apache families gathered around a large fire in the ranch compound center. Chayla spoke in Apache, her words carrying tradition's weight and new beginnings' hope. Then she switched to English, including Sam. "Tonight we begin something new, not Apache, not white, but family. Family that chooses love over fear, understanding over hatred, cooperation over conflict." She gestured to Sam and Ayana standing together near the fire. "We begin with a father who saved a daughter, and a daughter who saved a father. From their love, we build something larger, something stronger." As flames danced against the desert sky and Apache voices rose in traditional songs, Sam McCready understood he had found something he'd never known he was looking for. Not just a daughter, but a purpose. Not just a family, but a future. Ayana moved beside him, slipping her hand into his weathered one. "Are you happy, father?" Sam looked around at faces gathered in the firelight. Apache elders sharing stories with children, young parents planning crops and homes, grandmother Chayla teaching traditional weaving to curious onlookers. This was his family now. This was his legacy. "I've never been happier in my life. Thank you for giving me back my heart, daughter. Thank you for giving me back my hope, father." As celebration continued into the night, Sam reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. It started with a single act of human decency, cutting down a child from a tree and refusing to let hatred win. From that simple beginning had grown something beautiful and powerful, a family transcending race and tradition, a community built on mutual respect and shared dreams. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be legal challenges, social pressure, and the constant struggle of building bridges between cultures. But looking around at faces gathered in the firelight, Sam knew they would face whatever came together. He had found his daughter, hanging from a tree, broken and abandoned. Tonight, she stood beside him as part of a thriving family, confident and beloved. In saving her, he had saved himself, and together they had created something that would endure long after tonight's. Fire had faded to ash. The lonely rancher was lonely no more. The Apache girl had found her place in the world, and in the harsh Arizona landscape, love had proven stronger than hate, family more powerful than prejudice, and hope more enduring than fear. As Ayana had said, some flowers truly were eternal. They just needed the right soil and care to bloom.